Alright, let's go and start this. Okay, welcome to the Doombringer set review. You are in Ruby. Alright, let's go ahead and just dive on in. Before we dive in, I am just covering the cards for Constructed. I will not be covering them for Limited. On top of that, there are fusion cards called Enders that you can fuse together that become Termini. There are like over 150 combinations of Termini that you can combine and make. I will not be going over the entirety of the combinations because that will take way too long. And out of like the 150 plus combinations, I imagine only 3 to 4 are going to be playable. So we will not be going into that. So not covering Termini and not covering limited cards. That being said, let's go ahead and start with Breath of Ka. Breath of Ka is a 4-cost action. Deal 2 damage to each opposing champion for each shard among cards you control. So if you control a troop, okay, so if you control a Merry Caravan or Shamrock the Goldfather, and I guess we'll say if you just control a Shamrock the Goldfather, this will deal 2 damage to each opposing champion, or this will do 4 damage. Deal 2 damage to each opposing champion for each. Yes, so let's do 4 damage to your opponent. If you somehow control like a Merry Caravan, Intrepid Conjurer, Whiskers of Azenhoth, a Vampire Prince, and a Baby Yeti. If you control all 5 of those, this will deal 10 damage to your opponent. This card, guys, is no. This is too much. This is too much. Like, on average, you might have 2, right? That's like the average, and this will do 4 damage. 4 damage for 4 is overcosted. Like 4 damage, like 6 damage for 4 is good, but that's a lot of work. And someone can like remove your creature in response. Like heaven forbid you have a Shamrock, the Goldfather, and like let's say a Thunderfield Seer or something. You cast this, and they like hero fall your Shamrock, and you deal 2 damage. So basically, they counter your spell. And you just paid 4 mana for 2 damage. Like that's awful. And obviously, if they wipe your board with a Massacre or Annihilate, and you draw this, it deals 0 damage. Yeah. No, this card is not good. Bruiseberry Brewer. 3 cost, 3/3 Feral. Feral is the equivalent to Magic Menace. When it attacks, it must be blocked by 2 or more troops. If you can't block by 2 or more troops, then it can't be blocked. It has Rabid. Rabid is a 1-shot, so basically this will happen the first time you attack with it. So the first time you attack with Bruiseberry Brewer, you will discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. Maybe in reserves in some aggressive decks to refill your hand. Like, maybe you're playing against like, blood decks, and you need to refill your hand. You can play like a couple of these, maybe 2 or 3 of these, and it's like basically a really bad psychotic anarchist. So you attack with that, you get to discard your hand, and draw some cards. As far as main deck, the only way you can play this as more than like 1 or 2, like if you want 4 of these in your deck, then you have to be like super low to the ground. Like this has to be your top end, or very few, like maybe 1 or 2 4-drop cards, but I feel like this is more of a grindy card for the aggressive decks to try to grind the control decks. Buzzkiller, 4-cost troop, 3/2. If you control a wild threshold, it has quick in all zones. No, this is obviously limited only. Even that Swift Strike, actually, man, I don't know. Let's rethink this. This is silly, but this could happen. I mean, if you're playing like a Ruby Wild deck against the mirror match or against aggressive decks, flashing in Buzzkiller to block again a Righteous Outlaw or to block a whatever troop is very good to have in reserves. So this card is not playable main deck, but at all, mind you. But in a metagame where aggro is king, this is a great card to have in your sideboard deck as an aggressive deck to combat basically attrition. Like it'll come down, it'll kill a creature, and then it can kill more creatures because that's Swift Strike. That's basically it's a bad wayfaring arrow shot guy in Diamond, but for Ruby. So that ability is pretty powerful. Again, only for very weird metagames in reserves of aggressive decks or mid-range decks. All right, Chaos Bolt, 2 cost, quick action, draw 2 cards. Okay, I like that so far. Then discard 2 cards at random. Okay. Deal damage to target troop equal to this card's cost. This is too random for constructed. Heaven forbid you're trying to kill something. You draw 2 cards. Discard like a shard and like a 4-drop, and the creature has like 5 toughness. Like you're just gonna like, why are you doing this? The only scenario I could see this being played is possibly a Reanimator deck where you can like Chaos Bolt, discard a Gargolith, and doesn't matter what else you discard, or discard a Rawpaw Gang or Blight Water Ferryman. But the only problem with this in your Reanimator strategy is you can't discard your Mordrum's Gift. Like if you discard your Mordrum's Gift, you're just like, why are you doing this? But there also seems to be a discard mechanic in this set. Ruby and slightly Libra Sapphire seem to have this mechanic where if you discard cards, you can cast cards for a certain cost. Like if you discard this card, you can pay 2 to cast it. Well, I think there's better ways to do that in constructed. That's not as random as this card. This card is probably playable in limited, but in constructed, I'm gonna say no because the random damage aspect is too random for it to be controlled in constructed. All right, Fatal Feast, 3 cost, basic action. Deal 3 damage to target champion or troop. If you control blood, life drain. Again, in that weird spot where possibly reserves, but probably not. Actually, I almost said no to this card just because, like, I think you just want a better removal spell. Honestly, like I think you'd rather just play Pyre Strike. I know life drain is relevant against again the aggro mirror match. So I don't think this metagame is going to be super aggressive. I think we'll have aggressive decks, but I don't think it's going to be like aggro versus aggro where Fatal Feast is like an amazing card. So I do not believe this will be played in constructed. Feral Formulation, 3 cost, basic action. Discard 2 cards at random, then draw 3 cards. The random aspect is killing me, man. This card would actually be somewhat playable if it was discard 2 cards of your choosing, then draw 3 cards. The plus side of this, though, is if you have only this card in your hand and you cast it, you're going to draw 3 cards. So that's really good for a 3 cost action, but that's too small of a scenario. Like I think Runic Passions is a good card. I think it's better than this card, so I'm going to say no to this card. I don't think this card's playable. If you can control it, then yes, but I don't think it's good enough. What's up, you Seer Army? Alright. Fiery Catalyst, Troop Ender. This one does not have fusion. Troop you control have +2 attack. I'm sure you can fuse it with other cards, I think. As is, this card's not playable. I'm not sure if you can fuse it with other... I'm not sure if a fusion card needs to fuse with another card. But anyways, regardless, this card's not playable and constructed. Fiery End. Deal 3 damage up to 2 target champions or troops. Too much cost for this effect. Not playable and constructed. Flamewrought Obliteron. 4 cost, 0/0. Socket Major Minor. This has power and toughness in all zones for each card in opposing hands. I need to review the gems. You know what? Let me review the gems real quick, because this is very relevant on what kind of gems we can actually have. A 4 cost is pushing it though. A 4 cost that's reliable on your opponent's hand. Actually, you know what? I don't have to review the gems. The fact that your opponent can basically be hellbent or have no cards in hand and kill this card is reason enough not to play this troop. I'm gonna say no to this troop. This card's not playable. Not playable and constructed. Flare Imp, 1 cost, 2/2. When this is dealt damage, it deals 1 damage to you. This card's very playable. It's essentially a Jackal Pup like in Magic. 1 cost, 2/2 in an aggressive deck is fine. Maybe. This card will never be better than Bolt Spasm. Maybe if you're playing like a super aggressive deck with like 4 of these and 4 Bolt Spasm, then maybe. And maybe elemental matters. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna say, man, it's tough. It's tough because aggressive decks can like kill you with the silliest creatures. A 1-mana 2/2 in Ruby is good. A 1-mana 2/2 in Diamond, not so much, because Diamond tends to have the better troops. So if you're playing like Mono Ruby, then if you're playing a hyper aggressive deck, then maybe. I personally don't think so. I think you just fill up. I just think you fill your curve with like Bolt Spasm, maybe probably like Baby Yeti, and then like Righteous Outlaw, and then whatever else you want to fill 2-drop wise. I don't think this is good enough, but I would not be surprised if I'm wrong because it's super cheap, it's aggressive, and it's Ruby. Ruby can kill you with the silliest things. Alright, Flayer Steel, 1 cost, quick action. Target troop gets +3/+3 this turn. Not good and constructed, not playable. 2/1 fusion. It says speed. This is what I'm talking about. These cards, you can fuse 2 cards with fusion together to make a card with all the stats. Guys, these cards, again, have a bunch of outcomes that I'm not going to get into, so I'm going to skip this. Same with this one. It's a 1 cost fusion with Feral. This actually seems good with the previous one. Having a 3 cost, what would it be? 3 cost what? A 3 cost 3/2 with speed and Feral seems decent to me. So maybe this fusion, whatever this is called, we put this with this. This could be playable. Again, it has speed and it's hard to block, so very playable. All right, this is a 3 cost Rage 2 fusion. Again, same thing. Infinite possibilities. I'll let you guys figure that out. Hired Horn Herder. 3 cost, 4/1. Beasts can't block. Create a Llama and put it in your hand. Look at this little llama. Look at this llama. It's wearing a helmet. For enough gold, Hired Horn Mercenaries will take on any burden, even watching a llama. That's a good Minotaur. It's a good Minotaur, guys. I would definitely hire this Minotaur to watch my llamas. This llama is adorable. As far as playability, it is card advantage. It is card advantage. So maybe, I mean, it's a 3 cost 4/1. 4/1 troop okay. Let's be honest. A 3 cost 4/1 troop is not good enough in Hex. Like that is just not good enough. Like when you're comparing this to Iron Inquisitor, Underworld Inquisitor, Shamrock the Goldfather, it's just not as powerful enough. But this card trades with all those cards. It has 4 tough. It has 4 power. And on top of that, it does give you another card that transforms a troop into a 2/2 llama. Hey, like I'm not saying. This card is actually playable because of the llama ability. If it didn't have the llama ability, I would say no. But you could play like one of these in your Ruby whatever mid-range deck. It's a 4/1. It's not great. It's not exciting, but it's a fine one-up to have. This card would definitely be playable if it was an Ardent troop. This is an Ardent troop. It would 100% be playable. The fact that it's not Ardent makes it a little less so, but still, I could see this being played. It's not like insane or anything, but it is playable. Iron Inquisitor. 2 cost, 2/2 troop. Okay, good so far. When a champion discards a card, if opposing champions have 3 or fewer cards in hand, summon a Candleghast. Alright, let's pull up a Candleghast. What is a Candleghast? Alright, I know I have these somewhere. Created cards. Let's move this over a little. Candleghast. Candleghast! Okay, so if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in hand, after discard a card, it makes a Candleghast. Candleghast is a 3 cost 4/4 troop that says this has -1/-1 all zones for each card in opposing hands. Is there a Ruby spell that like makes both players discard 3 cards and draw 3 cards or something? I want to say no because I want to say no. Wait, when champion discards a card, So you technically don't have to make them discard a card. Okay, this can be playable in reserves. The reason I'm saying playable in reserves because let's say you're playing against a reanimator strategy like a Blue Sparrow trying to reanimate Doombringer Caw or Inquisitor the Party Pig, something crazy. This could be a possible card to play in the reserves. That being said, though, I think you'd rather play Gravebane Vial, but this is a possibility. As far as main deck, I don't think so. Lock and Load. 3 costs, quick action. Target troop and random troop in your hand each get +3 attack. Limited only. It's cool art though. I like Locke in this picture. We'll pass. Mad Doggin. Troops you control have +1 attack. Okay. Your troops' rabid powers are no longer one-shot. So these rabid triggers will keep happening over and over again. I think this card is fine, but you really cannot play too many. Like you really want to play like 1 or 2 of these. You can't play 4 because if you draw too many of these, you're just not like you're gonna run out of fuel. Honestly, I think this card is playable, but not as a 4 of. You cannot like just build a deck around this and have all your troops removed and just die to having a bunch of anthems in your hand. If there were rabid troops that were like tokens that were generated, then yes, but there's not. So this card is going to be a card you want to play in your rabid deck as a 1 of or a 2 of, just for like, holy crap, I'm going to blow you out. Because you never want to see more than 1. You never want to, and having like 3 or 2 in opening hand, just like you can't keep that hand. This card is a blowout. As a 1 of, it's a nice one to have if you have a bunch of rabid troops. But again, I don't think you can play 4 of these in a deck and expect it to be tier 1. Maniacal Ripper. 4 cost, 3/2, stockable minor. Target opposing troop this target opposing troop gets this can't block. No. Not playable. Oath of Anguish. 4 cost, basic action, discard your hand, create a burn for each card discarded this way and put them into your hand. I like that this does not transform the cards into burns. Keep in mind, burn is not scorch. Burn is a 1 cost action that does deal 2 damage. That's pretty good. What's great about this card is you can play it, discard your hand, right, and get a bunch of burn spells, a bunch of burns. And then this also combos with, you know this combos with? It combos with like Psychic Ascension. It combos with Yeti Geddon. So like let's say you discard a handful of actions, then you have more actions. Any opponent's turn you go burn, 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 burn. 8 points of damage. You untap. You like later you play like Yeti Geddon. You basically transform all your cards in your crypt into Yetis. Like this card is sweet. I think this card is great. It can be played as a combo card, and it can be or it can just be played as a as a nice way for burn decks to be like, okay, well these troops aren't going to kill you, so I'm just going to discard these cards. Another great thing about this card is, guys, like Ruby has the Feral Fuel, the resource when it comes to play. It gives you a spell that's pretty bad, honestly. It gives troops Gladiator 2. There's not enough Gladiator troops. But the fact that like Ruby decks can like play, let's say Ruby Diamond or Ruby Sapphire or whatever, you can play these shards that generate the drop of Chaos, the drop of the green one, like all the drop shards. You know what I'm talking about. And those actually draw you a burn. So like you play these drops, you get these, you play these drop shards, you get these drops in your hand, you play with Anguish, and those are just extra burns. That's powerful. That's very powerful. So this card is a card to watch out for. I think it's probably a sleeper. I don't think people will expect much out of this card, but I think this card's good. All right, Stabstick Show Off. 2 cost, 1/3, rabid. This gets +2/+2 in fight this turn. So the first time it attacks is a 3. Oh, +2/-1. No, not good. Not good enough, I don't think. By the way, when I say it's a sleeper, I'm saying like this card is not broken. I think it's good, but I don't think people realize that it's good. Just so we'll clarify, don't go out and buy 6,000 Oath of Anguishes. I'm just saying this card. I think this card is powerful, and people don't fully realize it. That's what I'm saying. It's not better than like the Diamond Ruiner Hierophant or anything. So like, don't get me confused. This card is good. It's a sleeper because people don't realize how good it actually is. All right, Voltaic Blast. 1 cost X. Deal like damage to target troop. No. Ruby has good enough ways to kill troops. Pyre Strike is good enough. Pyre Strike does 5 damage to a troop. For this to be Pyre Strike, it's going to cost you 6 or 4 or not 6, 5, and that doesn't even void. This is not good enough for constructive play. Yeti or not, here we come. Choose one. Summon 2 Baby Yetis. Summon a Baby Yeti and troops you control get +1 attack, or troops you control get +2 attack this turn. This is interesting. This is super interesting. These are the hardest cards for me. These are the hardest cards for me to evaluate because aggressive decks can do like silly things. I'm ultimately going to say no. I think aggressive decks can do better things than this, but I mean, again, man, Ruby aggressive decks or Wild aggressive decks or Diamond aggressive deck can kill you with anything. All right, let's pass. Or is that it? Oh, that's it. Okay, that's it for the Ruby cards. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Thank you very much. If you liked it, make sure you like, subscribe to see my future set reviews. And yeah, that's it. Enjoy your day, whatever you're watching next. That's it for